What up, everyone? Welcome to the fifth conversation and a bunch of conversations between me, Nikesh, and Jack. And we are here to just talk. And this is our moment to catch up. This is where we can see what each other's doing. Catch each other's vibe. Come on, having a good time today. Shit.
Hype Master 3000.
There you go. That's it. As soon as the red light's on, your boys are awake. Come on. How you been, Jack? How's your week been since we last spoke?
How's my week been? Yeah, I think it's been relatively quiet. I've been walking every day, which has been pretty nice. Apart from on Friday, because electrical inspection was supposed to happen in our flat, and the guy didn't come, and so he ruined my morning routine. Like I go for a walk, I get back, I meditate, and then I kick on, and it kind of messed up my whole day. So it's a bit pathetic, to be honest, because I think the best thing that you can do, rather than having a really strict routine or having a routine that works for you and habits and all that, the best thing you can do is be, I guess, strong in the face of that routine being affected in any way, so you can just kind of move like water.
Yeah. As in, make sure you get the task done. It's less about the time they get done in that sense. Yeah.
How was your week?
How's your beat queen? Yeah, come on. My beat queen's been all right, man. It's been all right. Nothing too crazy. Work has probably taken up the most of my thoughts this week, like my energy this week, even though I haven't had much work to do, because it's more about refinement now than major changes, which is always a good thing. So yeah, it's been all right. I've been playing a lot of FIFA because the second batch of Icon Swaps 1 came out this week, so been banging those out. Got mid Balak, which he's pretty good, to be fair.
Is that? Have they changed the icons at all? Like, did the skill?
No, they've just added new ones, so the ones from previous years are still there.
They stay the same on like all the points and that. I never knew that.
I think so. I don't know enough about icons. I only really got into icons last year, to be honest. But yeah, my week's been chilling, man. Trying to think what else I did. Really, nothing of like exciting.
No.
Yeah.
That's fair enough, though, man. I feel like the beginning of the weird. It's just going to be mouth errors the whole way through. The beginning of the year has, well, at least it has for me, gone quite slowly.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably just because I've been productive for once, and so it does just go slower. The days go slower because I'm not getting lost in things, like getting lost in my phone for like an hour or getting lost on YouTube on the computer for an hour.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the day is going, and it's more filled out with stuff. Do you find that when you're doing well? I mean, it's a weird one because people say the whole time flies when you're having fun, but I think in some senses, like, the fuller your days are, yes, the time flies, but also it feels like the period of time is longer. Does that make sense in any way?
It's probably because you're more attentive during that time period. You know what I mean? Because you're actually doing something, so you're more like, oh, I did this, or I'm doing this, or I'm even, I guess, meditation will kind of slow time down in that sense because you're actually more aware of the things you're actually accomplishing. So yeah, that makes total sense to me. It has felt a bit slower this week compared to last week and the week before, which is a good thing. I love it when time's kind of slower and you have the idea of more time, even though it's obviously the same 24 hours. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a slower guy in terms of like I prefer things moving slowly and being able to take everything in with more depth and stuff. And I think Alicia used to have this thing where I can't remember what it was, but she came up with a name for something. Like you must have had the same thing where over the course of your young life, you've come up with names for many projects and stuff. Oh, I think it's a Reddit username, and it's something to do with like going slowly. And I just really like it because I think everyone wants to try and rush everything and get as much done as possible in as little as time as possible. And it just means that most of the things that you do, and people multitask, which doesn't really even work anyway. It's just kind of a a way of doing two things at the same time, but worse. Like that's effectively. But I think, what would you say you prefer? Like, I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure I would describe you as a high octane person. Like, you're not out. I know you said about your attention seeking. Attention, I can't even talk, bro. You're thrill seeking. You're thrill seeking. Oh my god, man.
I like really high highs and I like really low lows. I think the middle ground is a bit. I'm going to use the term boring, for lack of a better term, but I find it not exhilarating enough or not attentive enough. Yeah, I'll keep it there. I prefer both ends of the spectrum. But yeah, you're right. I'm not very high octane, I guess, for the most part.
But what I mean is, it's not like you're running round. I mean, in London, you kind of were in a sense. But I mean, so I would describe Charlie, my brother, as quite high octane. Like he's constantly bouncing from friend's house to friend's house to my parents' house to work, and just like absolute energy everywhere he goes. And that works for him because he has so much energy. I mean, I think he has loads of energy and then crashes. So obviously everything comes with a cost, doesn't it? It's like when you have a really full, long day of work and you pour loads of energy into it, you're dead by the end of the day. Although there's no nicer feeling than getting into bed at night time when you have had like a really hard day's work and just conquered.
The cold covers and shit.
Cold covers.
Yeah. But back to the energy thing. I hope I like to think I'm good at when I know I need to gain more energy or use more energy, that I can like level up my energy. Do you know what I mean? Like when the time comes when it's needed, I can rise up to that energy level. But for the most part, I just like to chill because there's no need for most of the things I do in my life anyway. There's no need to be high octane anymore. Do you know what I mean? There's no. I can just chill. Like life is chilling. Like we spoke about last week, life is relaxing for me.
And I think it's like you should really do what you need to do with as little effort as possible. Like the whole idea of it's not about working the hardest, it's about getting the same things done with the least energy. If you can get the same as another person done, but you're, working through it calmly and peacefully, and you're not on edge and you're not reacting to the people around you with, because I think that's one of my I think that's something that blocks me and probably will block me for the rest of my life. Block me from gaining maybe like super success, because when it comes down to it, I'm not willing to alienate the people around me for success. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like I think when people get to a certain level, your Elon Musks and your Jeff Bezoses and stuff like that, I mean they're all like divorced and stuff. Elon Musk was married like really randomly to this actress, and I remember, I don't know if I told you, but I watched a clip once and it was him and she was there and he had his kids there, but from another marriage, and she kept making these comments which made it so obvious that she was just with him because he was like rich as fuck. But yeah, back to what I was saying, I feel like when it comes down to it, I couldn't turn my family away and ignore my family for a long period of time because I wanted to achieve something. Do you know what I mean? I don't know where do you stand on that?
I'm probably going to say the same thing in terms of, because I'm a horrible believer of the fact that you can have everything you want in life, and you just have to figure out how, in terms of if you want to have that balance of, I want to conquer my goals, but I also want to spend good quality time with my family or with my friends or whatever. I'm a firm believer you can have both worlds. You just have to figure out how to work like your own schedule almost to get that shit done. Do you know what I mean? So I'm in total agreement. I'm a firm believer of that. You just have to figure that shit out, because there is no, as long as your family are important to you as the example, or your friends are important to you, there is no need to cut them out just for your own success. You could bring them along for the journey. I think it'd be way more rewarding at the end of that journey. Do you know what I mean? If I
Mm.
became successful and was able to bring my family along in the journey, they saw where I started and where I finished. That's fucking amazing, isn't it? Because then we've all experienced it. We've all had that rise together almost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I guess so. I mean, that's a really honourable way to think about it and stuff. But do you not think that sometimes there are times where there are like forking paths, and kind of one of them, like you must have experienced that, and if not already, like you definitely will if you have, because you have ambitions in your career, don't you? So
Mm-hmm.
there might come a time when you've said you wanted to move to Canada. What if there was the ability for you to move to Canada but not take your family with you for like your
Yeah,
dream
yeah,
job? Like,
yeah,
what do
yeah,
you
yeah,
do?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Then I go because
Bring them later. It's like,
no, yeah, bring them later. Because as hypocritical as it sounds to what I just said, my other big belief is that you should always put yourself at the top of your pyramid, and then your like friends and family should be the next layer down in terms of because it's your life that you are living. They are still important. They are still high up in your world, right? It's just you need to live your life. If I have this goal to move to Canada and it's my dream job, it's my dream place to live. For the
yeah,
example, I'm going to take that. I have to. That I because I don't want regrets. As much as I love my family and I hope they would want the same for me. Do you know what I mean?
fuck
It
them.
yeah, but it's fact. So I would go
No,
like regardless. Like it's the
yeah,
opportunity over anything.
yeah. It's putting your own oxygen mask on first so that you
Yeah,
can help everyone else, isn't it?
yeah,
You can't.
exactly that.
And I think that does really like that. I feel like that is something that never goes away. When I think about making decisions, and that is constantly the idea that if I'm not looking after myself, I can't look after anyone else, and I shouldn't be looking after anyone else if I can't look after myself. What's the
Hmm.
point? The care I'm giving them will be way further degraded than if I was in a good, healthy position. Um,
It
but
that's hindered me in the past. It's caused me a great deal of depression in the idea of when I was crumbling most. One of my biggest like strains on myself and the like stabs to myself was always like you're failing at helping everybody else. And I was
mm,
like I was crumbling, like I was going through some shit. And I one of my thoughts was always like I'm not helping the people I love. Like, what are you doing? You're failing. Like, do you know what I mean? And in
mm,
reality, it's like, oh, I couldn't even hold myself up to even be able to hold them up. Like,
yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah, it makes total sense.
yeah.
It's a
It,
tough thing to do. What? So I assume you would do the same, by the way. Like, if the opportunity, I mean, it's going to all change in a few months for
it
sure.
it depends on the level of opportunity. So I
Right.
think remember we were talking last week about what was it, sufficiency.
Hmm.
So it depends. If I got to a certain point and I thought to myself, what am I getting from this?
Hmm.
Is it just the money is increasing? Is it the closest? Is it a massive increase in getting to the type of job that I want to get, or the type of role I want to have, or my goals, my overarching goals?
Yeah.
I guess I'd have to weigh the balance out. If it was just money, then no.
Yeah.
Um, but then with you, with Canada and the perfect job, I mean, that's the place that you the most want to live, and it's also like it would be the perfect job, and so it's. I mean,
It's a big difference.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah.
No,
And the thing is you don't, going back to the thing of bringing your family with you, is that you don't have to, once you get to a certain point, the choices are far less difficult to make,
yeah.
because you would be in a position where hopefully you would be earning, you're not going to move there and earn less.
Yeah.
You would
Yeah.
move there to earn more. And that brings a whole thing into it of, well, if you earn more money, then perhaps you can bring your family and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's hard. It's all hypothetical, isn't it? But
Because you got and you always have to make the best decision at the time of the decision, never
which
the
is
past in
which
mind
is
or future.
so
Like,
hard to do,
yeah,
man. It's like looking back at like decisions that I've made in the past. The truth is I could never have made the decision a different way, because I was who I was then, and what I
yeah,
wanted was what I wanted then.
yeah,
But
exactly.
like simple things, like if I'd started programming when I was 20, I could be on a huge wage right now, like 9 8 9 years straight of it.
Yeah, yeah,
And you look back and you're like, God damn it! But then
It's
it
it's
might have.
it's it's always that perspective in reflection that's the most important in any decision you make. To be able to look back and be like, I don't actually have any regrets. Yes, I could have done this better. I could have done that. But it's I'm such a firm believer in no regrets. It's like it's too important to be like, I should have done this and it could have given me that life. Because back to the
Yeah,
hypothetical
yeah,
point,
yeah,
that's all it is. It's
yeah,
hypotheticals, right? I'm living
yeah.
this one life. Let me fucking be happy with where I am and figure out what the next move is instead of looking back.
Mm, yeah. I mean, you can't do anything about it, and it would just
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like baggage. You're just carrying baggage. Otherwise, what's the point?
exactly,
And
exactly.
as kind of Buddhist new wavy bullshit as it sounds, like you do only have the moment. Like you
Yeah,
can't. No other time ever exists. So it's sometimes it's such a weird, like, the more philosophy I read about stuff like this. I remember reading something recently where someone was talking about this idea that we are time. I think it was like a philosopher called like Heidegger or something that came up with the idea, but he also ended up being part of the Nazi party, so his philosophy is slightly undermined. Well,
yeah.
actually, no. That's a good question to ask. How do you think about the separation of man and woman with their art? Like, if someone is a twat,
I
right?
think I think about Kanye West in that sense all the time. I always think, am I wrong to only
Am I
view the man
wrong?
to only view the man for his music rather
Yeah.
than his political views or his other views? Because there is a key point that obviously they are the same person. Like, you're viewing a man on his music, but he also thinks this is Trump is good or whatever. um, I battle it. I battle it with myself because I think selfishly you can pick and choose. As hypocritical as that is, I think you can pick and choose, because if I choose to focus on this man's music as the example versus this man's actual belief and celebrity, then I think it's fine, because to
Mm.
me they are two different worlds as much as they feed into each other.
I think what is quite helpful is this idea that I don't the way that thoughts come to us, right? The way that thoughts pop into your head, you're not bringing those thoughts forward from anywhere. They just appear inside your head from nowhere. So you're not actually the one having those thoughts. So because I don't fully believe in free will, but whatever. Um, Kanye West, this sort of these ideas that visit him, these thoughts that visit him, I don't necessarily attach them to Kanye West, the man, like, as much as I do think they are just ideas that have come through him. And they've, whatever, his body was a necessary body and his brain was a necessary brain to act upon them and make the things that he made. So I just kind of I just think that his art is completely separate from him, and if he's a knob, then don't celebrate the man. Like, but you can celebrate the art separately.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
can
But that,
enjoy the music. I mean, I guess the thing is that you can't separate the two, in the sense that if you listen to his music, he gets money. But you know,
yeah,
it's not like
but
he's evil or anything.
there, yeah, I totally get that. But there is that argument that to be able to sometimes feel inspired, you have to go to a wide range of sources, good and bad, right? Like,
Mm,
so that in terms of separating a man listening to his music, giving him money, almost that kind of point. Um, I think I don't know. I think it's all there for you to decide for yourself and figure out how you feel. I don't think there can be a blanket answer to that in terms of society in
yeah, of
general
course, of
should
course.
keep them 2 points together or separate them. I don't think there can be a blanket answer, because more
Most
it
people can't.
yeah, and it has
They
to be on
can't
an
separate
individual
it.
basis. If Hitler's creating the greatest art in the world, like actual
I
paintings
have
and
a bet.
art,
Yeah,
like, do you know what I mean? I'm gonna fucking look at that art. I'm gonna be like, this might be cool. Like, fuck the
yeah. But
geezer, but this art is sick. Like,
Hitler has the key to the secret of life, right? Yeah.
okay,
Or like, but if you read it, you are like, he gets. It's like a Spotify stream. He's still alive, and he gets 20p. Are you? He has the secret to life,
you
but
have
he
to read
also.
it. You have to fucking like give him that stream, bro. It's the fucking. It's the more we talk about it, even in this 2 minutes of talking about it, I think it's such a stupid point to be like, I
Yeah.
have to look at them. I can't separate the two. Do you know what I mean? I have to. It's so stupid. Because as an individual, I'm going to be inspired by some fucking random shit. Like I said, you've looked outside sometimes, seen like the worst. Back to the World Star hip hop shit last week, man. In my head, I'm looking at the people being killed. I'm like, fuck, this is shit. But then I think then you take it out a step and you're like, but the idea of the compilation and seeing these things, exposing these people, exposing millions of people to shit they wouldn't see. I never saw that before that compilation. Do you know what I mean? It's eye opening. There's a positive there. Do you know what I mean? It's fucking.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I
I
can't.
have two. I want
I have
one
to separate
example
that.
of that real life example, which is a good kind of one to talk about. But just on your point about inspiration, sometimes I get inspired by mistaking what artists mean with their art. So I will read a book and come up with an idea that at least I think is really good, and you can kind of feel when an idea is good, like whether it's successful or not, doesn't matter. Um, and like my art comes from being too dumb to understand the thing that I read.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and then the example I was going to give, who is the perfect example of this for many people, is Joe Rogan. Like, people cannot seem to understand why anyone would listen to Joe Rogan because they don't like Joe Rogan the man. But the
hmm
thing is from probably episode 50 onwards, he just had the most eclectic list of guests from so many different
yeah,
sources. I learned so much from listening to his show. And it's and someone who just wants to summarize things and take sides and kind of like make people out to be whatever would
yeah,
be like, oh, like what? So you listen to Joe Rogan, you think he's like interesting and smart on that? It's like, no, he had some really interesting guests, and the amount of times I've learned something from those guests is innumerable. Like
yeah,
from and no one else has created something I've learned more from, I don't think, like as one person.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. And the argument for the misinformation piece of all of that is that if you're stupid enough to just believe everything you hear without if a topic does interest you and it ends up being misinformation, then that's on you to like actually do your research. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
This at the end of the day, it's just one person speaking. It's one person's opinion or one person's research themselves. Like, do you know what I mean? You have to do that your own work to
mm,
figure out whether it's real in the first place or whether it actually interests you and all this kind of shit. There's no again no blank. There can't be a blanket over the entire Joe Rogan experience for that example. Do you know what I mean? It makes no sense.
exactly.
It
Yeah,
makes no
yeah.
sense.
And you can with any guest that has a very strong idea, you can just go on the
Yeah,
internet afterwards and type their name and then Reddit, and some people in the comments will be like, well, he's got some very questionable ideas about this, and if you look through his studies, he hasn't really, like, I don't know, isn't referencing like actual valid studies and stuff.
yeah,
And then you kind of go, okay, you don't rule out what he said, because if you found it interesting, you found it interesting regardless. But then you just go in your head, okay, well, pigeonhole him in the uncertain about for later, or her in the uncertain about for later. And then you go back. I mean, but that's
and
the argument that people go on, you go.
and at the very least, you've gained insight on maybe a brand new topic. Even if he's not the person that you should be focusing on that topic, you've probably found a brand new avenue for you to look at in life. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's
Mm.
about
Just interest.
psychological research or whatever it fucking is. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Even if that person isn't the person you should go to, it's so
yeah,
important. It's such an
yeah,
important piece of information.
yeah,
I just I don't know why it just reminded me, but when I had nothing better to do at uni, I used to try and watch Jimmy Fallon every day, like find a stream of it online or something every day, no
yeah. I
matter
think I
who
remember.
no matter who the guest was, because it would open me up to different creative outlooks, like whether it be a new film coming out, a new book coming out by this person, or just a fucking I don't know celebrity just talking shit, whatever it was. It would like
Mm.
open up that kind of world to me. I'd be like, oh, this film sounds cool. Let me go check it out. This book sounds cool. Let me go check it out. This it. I don't know. It's nice to have that kind of center point and then learn about these people and these kind of topics from. That's what Joe Rogan kind of
Yeah,
brings
yeah,
us.
yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because you don't. It's very hard to go out and find. So I've I wrote a bit about like people like him and called them aggregators, because they're people that aggregate like a bunch of information that then you can look at that information and be like, oh, this is generally going to be an above average quality of, I don't know, person or field, whatever. And I think that's really valuable
Mm-hmm.
now when there is so much information. For some people that you can trust, you go to their website, and this is kind of what I want to build eventually myself, is just a website where people can go to for certain topics and go, I know I'm going to get good stuff from here.
Yeah.
Because like the other day I was going to myself, who who writes a good blog on the internet? It doesn't have to be a blog as such, but like who writes good articles
Material.
on the internet?
Yeah.
Like individual person that I can go and find and just read their articles, as a balance to reading books, which are generally a bit older. Just getting an update on modern technologies and things like that. And I just couldn't think of any. And I can't. I tried to search it, like top 10 tech blogs, for example, and all I got was the
Tech crunches and all that kind of
TechCrunch,
world.
Ars
Yeah.
Technica, and I don't want that. I want a person, because I like I don't know what it
It
is.
it,
Maybe
it,
it's
go, it
just
goes back to the trust thing. That's all it is in terms of you. Um, you need to feel like you trust the aggregator in your term, so that
mm,
you can know that the information is going to be good, right? That's all
mm,
it is. It's trust. Because you there might be something in the back of your head with these like blogs, these tech blogs like TechCrunch, etc., that you know that they could be easily paid for in terms of like a new businesses has paid for the advertising for the article or whatever. You know what I mean? There could be that shit in the
mm,
background.
yeah,
Um, I think it just comes down to trust.
yeah. And some of it on the trust point is that I want to know that I can read this person's writing without having to put that guard on, which is the constantly mistrusting every single bit. Because
Yeah,
once you start to trust someone a bit more, it's like when you have a musician that you know makes good music. You just click on their album, you go, and you're not
yeah,
waiting there to change in case you don't like the song. You listen to the full thing,
yeah,
and you'll
yeah,
listen regardless. And that is what I want from my sort of sources of reading. I want to buy I don't know, like a Murakami book, and know that even if it's not his best, I will enjoy it because I
yeah,
like his style.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and yeah, I think that's a new thing though as well. I mean, not a new thing probably in humans or in people, but a new thing in the sense that we're realizing that we want that, because in the
Mm,
past it's all been combinations of people, like
yeah.
the like newspapers and TechCrunch, Ars Technica.
Hmm.
They're all where every article has a different name underneath the title, like
Yeah.
this person wrote it, and
I
and
I think
now,
that's where the power of Medium kind of came in, because you could find the writers that you fucked with and kind
mm,
of just listen to what they say, even if every article isn't 10 out of 10. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Sorry,
Do you know
carry on.
Substack as well?
I've never heard of Substack. No.
Substack is basically a subscription service where you subscribe to a writer.
Right.
Um, so you subscribe to the writer, and then you just get all their articles. Like in the sense how they're doing, like, the Athletic, the football,
Yeah, yeah,
sorry, the sports one. They've got theirs, and then like newspapers are doing it. But this is just the person,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
who's going to subscribe to the New York Times, which, funny enough, we just got charged for because Alicia wanted to see a recipe on it last month.
Nice.
Um, Luckily, it was only £3. But who's going to want to subscribe to New York Times when you can pick the writer that you want and just subscribe to them?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it is opening up a whole new world for artists to get rich,
Hmm.
like NFTs. And not even get rich, just get paid what they fucking
Yeah, yeah,
deserve,
yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's where the world is going to, a subscription model for individuals. It's bringing the power back to the individual rather than the conglomerate or the company. Because there will be people that still want New York Times as a whole and like the way it's written or the way it's kind of feeds you information or whatever.
yeah,
But that subscription model to the individual is going to be good. It's going to be very important. Sorry, not good.
yeah, yeah,
Be
yeah,
very
yeah,
important.
yeah. As a counterpoint to, I guess, the way of this, the thing that we can't lose is the serendipity, like because that's what, when you were saying that about the people that still like the New York Times, actually that's what you do get, is you will stumble across an article that you never knew you
Yeah.
wanted to read.
Yeah.
And that is that's the whole thing we were talking about before,
Mhm.
where um I defo talked to you about it, but similar to your thing with watching Jimmy Fallon to get the different guests. About a year ago, when I was writing more frequently, I kind of got into a bit of a rut with my writing, and I'm like, I'm just writing about the same shit all the fucking time. And then I realized it's because I'm consuming the same stuff. So I'm listening. I always used to go to the same podcasts. I'd go to Joe Rogan, then Lex Friedman, Tim Ferriss, Seth Godin,
Yeah.
all of these people over and over and over again. And I was like, well, let's just go on something new. And I listened to a completely random podcast episode, and just like that, an idea.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that is probably something we don't want to lose, right?
No, definitely. Yeah. You need, in anything you do in life, you need that variety. Like going back to the conversation before that. If Hitler has some cool art, I'm gonna look at it because you need that good in the patch. You need the variety of artists to be like, oh wow, I actually fuck with it. I've never seen this before in my life and it's blown my mind. Do you know what I mean? Or it's a topic that sounds interesting. Let me fucking go into it. Is you need
When was
that
the last time
stuff.
you got that feeling of, when we were younger and discovering like a new artist and being like, oh shit, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Musically, it's this person called Black Odyssey. His album was cool as fuck to me.
I've
Um,
got Spotify up, so I'm gonna add
yeah,
that to my.
it's spelled BLK and then Odyssey. Odyssey, I think Odyssey might be spelled weird as well.
Yeah, got it.
His album was cool to me, cause,
Uh,
and it was also sold to me in a cool way as well, because it was um, they described it as, the podcast I was listening to described it as Childish Gambino mixed with Kendrick Lamar, like Good
Jeez.
Kid, Mad City. It was like that kind of, it was sold to me that way. So I was gonna give it a listen, and when I listened to it, I was like, "Fuck, this is sick." Musically, that's that. Art wise, very. I think the other day, Kanye West put out a music video or something, and then on Pigeons and Planes, I saw on the Instagram feed, I saw like where the inspiration for the art was, as in like each of
Right.
these scenes was, and the piece of art that kind of related to it. I thought that was cool. And oh, I want to actually talk about this today. The other night, I watched the Kid Cudi documentary on Amazon Prime for the first time, and fuck me, the graphic design in that was so good. It blew me away, and the videography and the filmography of having every interview be like a fucking picture portrait of the person talking
Oh,
was
nice.
fucking cool as shit. Like in terms of the side profile, just like talking, and then you just see it. Oh, like, it was so good. In terms of the
I'll have to check that
framing,
out.
everything was fucking sick. It was obviously the documentary was cool. Listening about Cuddy's like life and how he created his first album, all this kind of shit was cool. But just from a filmography point of view, the videography, the graphic design was fucking crazy. It actually blew me away. It was very cool.
Oh, that's really cool, man. I'm gonna check that out like straight after this. Because I
What
is it a new
it
doc?
it came. I think it came out just around Christmas. Maybe I'm making that up. I don't know when it came out. I'm assuming around that time. Um, but yeah, it was on Amazon Prime. So watch it. You'll definitely enjoy it because you liked his first album.
Yeah, love him, man. I
Yeah,
really do. He's the type of person that he makes it a lot of hits and misses.
yeah,
He has albums that are just because, and that's because in on every album he's like trying to do something
hmm
different. You listen to his album, sometimes it's like, what is he even going for here?
yeah. But
But
the key point is that he stayed true to himself. I think
yeah,
that's like the best piece of inspiration you can get from any artist. Um, but yeah, back to the question though for yourself.
oh
When have
God.
you recently or by recently found that inspiration like we did when we were
Do
kids?
you know what? I can't think off the top of my head. Um, but what I would say is that I said to you that I've been enjoying music and stuff a bit more, and that, and movies, and I definitely get it with movies quite often when I'm like, wow, that was really good. Like I didn't expect it to be good.
Hmm.
And with music, because there's a little seed of doubt in my head where it's always going, that whole classic thing of music ain't what it used to be, at
Yeah,
least in the sense that music doesn't align itself with my tastes in the same way that it used to when we were younger,
yeah,
probably because I was more sensitive to it and my tastes are probably developed now.
Yeah.
But
And music has moved past where it was when we were younger as well. So they're not creating the same music, so it can't stay in
so
that lane.
different, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I mean, I still like actual hip hop, you know, like, and hip hop doesn't really exist that much anymore. Like, it's kind of a
Yeah.
completely different thing, isn't it? Um, so, but I am coming across some new stuff and getting that feeling just a little bit. I'm not getting it loads, but I'll have to think about it and come back to
Okay.
you.
Cool.
Because I can't think of specific examples. I do get it with like a writer every now and then, but it's so rare. It's for me, it's when you come across a new idea,
Yeah.
and you know when all of a sudden, like you might have got it with this Black Odyssey guy, where it's like this is different and
Hmm.
good,
Yeah.
and all
I
of a
think that
sudden
key
you're
part
like,
is the good part because we would have seen different shit in our lifetime and been
yeah,
like, wow, this is fucking trash. Even for being different, like
yeah,
trying to think of a good example, but I've definitely listened to different music and been like, this is fucking shit. In my
yeah.
opinion, in my humble opinion, I
I
find
would
shit.
I would argue on the side of, because Kanye is another one that mixes it up every time he puts music out. I would argue on the side of some of his recent offerings. Maybe I don't know which one it was because I get lost between, because I haven't enjoyed the past couple.
Thunder and Yay.
Let's say Donda and Yeezus. No, not
Yay.
Yeezus.
It was Yay.
Yay.
Yeah. That was the 5 albums in 5 weeks by Kanye West. That was that period of time. And it was very funny because
Yeah.
he had probably my least favorite album out of. Oh, I'd never listened to Nas album, so I'll say out of the four I listened to, he had my least favorite. Because Pusha T had Daytona, Kids See Ghost came out, Tiana Taylor's album came
Oh
out, and then
yes. Yeah.
he came out. And Pusha's was
Yeah.
probably my favorite out of the
Which
Kids See
one was the
Ghost might be there.
which was the Pusher one?
Daytona.
That album is so good, man. Like that album, some of the songs on there get me hyped like no other musician. And I wasn't even that into Pusha T before that. I'd heard him when, because he would often collaborate on the songs where there were loads of them. But
Yeah.
yeah, so like Kanye is an example, and I think that happens. That does happen sometimes where you go different and you're risking it being shit because you're effectively trying to manipulate. Sounds like a bad word, or you're trying to shape the
Yeah.
public's tastes in a new direction, and that is what great artists do. Is they not only just make good music, but they actually change. I mean, that's it, isn't it? Artists want to
Yeah.
change the world, like
Yeah. And
really.
he's probably a great example of that in terms of when 808s and Heartbreaks came out, everyone was like, what the fuck is this? And then the stream of artists that came from that album, like being their biggest inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeezus as well. People were like, what the fuck is this shit? And then the stream of artists that came out off that album, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And both albums are very good to me. So, yeah, it's like you said, it's what you want to do as an artist. Even ourselves, like we want to make an impact. It could be one person, it could be 10 people, it could be 10 million people. Do you know what I mean? You just want to make an impact somewhere for the
Mm,
better, hopefully, obviously.
yeah. Not as easy as it looks though to some of
Of
these
course not.
people, is it?
Of course,
Oh.
you need that
At the
cosign, I guess, at times.
you need a lucky break, I think.
Mhm.
I do believe to some extent that you make your own luck. That only stretches so far because there are some people in dire circumstances that, can't. But it's funny that like so at the moment I have like 24 followers on Twitter, and I'm not, in terms of the actual number, it's not a thing. Like, I don't really care about the number itself, or what I care about is the number of connections that I
Mhm.
have. And at the moment I have so few connections that I can tweet something good, and even if it was good, no one would see it. It's like shouting into a void.
Mhm.
And I think it's so hard to make that jump from, I guess, the really low point when you have no. It's like the thing of trying to go for a job, and they're like, "Oh, you need experience," and it's like, "Well, I
I
need a
need the
job
job
to
to
get
get the
experience,
experience. Yeah.
right?"
Do
And
you
so
do
you
you
need, gone,
uh no, finish your thought now, Karen.
just that you need the interactivity in the audience to get a bigger audience. But from the
Yeah.
beginning, you're just there like tweeting at like bots and stuff, like
Yeah.
just.
Hoping the bots listen. Like, um, do you? I assume you do, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Do you respond to people? Do you like respond to their tweets? Do you try and build that community that way? Like things you actually fuck with on Twitter. Do you respond and be like, "Hey, this is cool"?
Yeah.
I think
Not.
this about what you said or whatever.
Mm,
Start a conversation almost.
I have,
Yeah.
and that, to be fair, I haven't done it so much lately because what I'm trying to build in myself is a prolificness to sort of keep tweeting every day, because that's what I need to do, and I've never been that good at it. At the moment, I'm probably in the 9 of the past 14 days I've tweeted, I reckon, and like threads as well, so decent amounts. But yeah, in the past when I've tweeted, replied to tweets from other people, or quote tweeted people with a thoughtful opinion, then that's been the things that have hit like most,
Yeah.
got most impressions and stuff. But it's a bit of a weird one, man, because to be an artist in the modern day and age, you have to both be an artist but also keep an eye on things like marketing and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's something weird about that, and feels slightly, leaves a bad taste in your mouth. You know that you're kind of checking your impressions and
Yeah.
you're thinking your SEO and like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
You need to be a salesman to be an artist as well, which has
Yeah.
always been a struggle because artists by most means are introverts, right? They don't want to have to talk to 10 people just to get one person to see their art.
Mm,
Like,
mm.
it's something I think about a lot because I know how much work goes into that side of things that stops me posting on Instagram, right? But even just my writing, like I just, I don't, yeah, I'm going to use the term I can't be asked because it's never, as much as I like to be the people person, the sociable fucker, I just don't want to be that person anymore. Do you know what I mean?
It
It's,
consumes a lot of
yeah,
energy, man.
yeah, more than the art itself.
Yeah.
I'd love to go in a cave and create for like a year and then come out the cave and have a million people just ready to see my art, but
Yeah.
never,
Oh,
never quite
Miko's
worked
just
like that. Yeah. Oh, we've been waiting. Do you know what I mean?
and the thing is that some people do get that. Like
Yeah,
once they create one good thing, and then everyone's so like Frank Ocean, everyone is constantly awaiting his next album. So when you get these slight rumors that Frank Ocean's bringing an album out, people are just
to get gas.
thirsty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. uh, that made me think of something, and I can't remember what it was. I know. Yeah, it's just it is. I think the the selling and the creating, the Naval used to say this whole thing about you want to be a builder and a creator and a salesman, or I think that was the term, so you want to be better at building and selling, but most of the time people are good at either one of them. So the idea
Yeah.
is that really you should be the one you are and partner up with the other one. And you
Yeah.
get the classic pairs from like Apple with Jobs and Wozniak,
Yeah.
Jobs being the salesman. And then he used Elon Musk as an example of someone who does both.
Yeah.
And that those people, when they come around, they move
Change the
mountains.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, even on a low scale, man. Like this guy that makes these really good CSS videos. He's like the go-to guy for CSS on YouTube. He's so good. His name's Kevin Powell. He has his own Discord channel, and I'm just there. He's got all these little, the reactions that are personalized and stuff, and you're gonna
Yeah.
use
Emotes.
his
Yeah.
emotes. Yeah. Um, and I'm just there thinking like this guy. I mean, if it's his full-time job, then
Yeah.
maybe I could do that, but I just don't know if I can ever see myself managing my own Discord channel. Do you know?
You see it a lot in Twitch streamers as well. They have their own Discord, they have their own emotes, they have their own community that they build, which again is the key point of selling in it. If you can get 100 people to the party, do you know what I mean? You've done a good job. Like, and then they can
Mm.
tell 100 people, and then so on and so forth. You only have to start small. Do you think how much do you think consistency over quality matters in that sense?
I think it matters a lot. I think it
Over
matters a lot.
quality.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%. I think as long as you're not an idiot, I
Yeah.
think the quality takes care of itself.
Yeah.
If you're writing 10 pages a day, one of those pages is probably going to be good. Um, and if they're not, then the next day, as long as you think about the other pages and you feel like, oh, they're probably not that good, and maybe you seek feedback as well.
Yeah.
If you're tweeting, then it's good because you get feedback. If you're making YouTube videos, you're going to get feedback. Might be an absence of feedback, but there's feedback regardless.
Yeah.
There's a guy that I really like on Twitter called Visa. I've talked about him before for sure, and he has this whole thing of do 100 things. And there are so many people that actually have in their Twitter name, like this guy's actually built up a following just from Twitter. It's pretty amazing. A Singaporean guy, and people have in their name 21 out of 100. So it'll be like James is making, I don't know, paper planes or something
Yeah.
small, and his whole thing is just do it 100 times, and if you do it 100 times, you're gonna get good at it.
Yeah.
Whereas instead, what we do is we're there like laboring over the one time that we would do it and being like, why is this not good? And then you give up. I mean, in my case, it's probably been like do it 40 times and then give up, or do 14, 15, 20 times. And it's that pushing through. It's just that. What's your opinion? I mean, I'm gathering that you're the same. You have the same thought, right?
Yeah, I am totally quantity over quality, because, like you said, they will be good at some point. And even if you do, for that example, 100, do it 100 times and you get 10 to 20 that are sick, that's a fucking sick accomplishment already. And to be able to do it 100 times as well is a good accomplishment. Definitely quantity over quality. The reason I asked the question more is because I always go back to my Instagram stories when I was on the grind of posting every day, like 4 or 5 times a day, and you would see the time I woke up, you would see the first music choice of my day, the photo, and the poetry. Those 4 things at least, you would see that I started to get more people outside of my circle seeing my shit.
Yeah.
Because I was doing it on a daily basis. It just reminded me of that, so I figured I'd ask the question.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember similar things with Instagram when I was posting a lot. All of a sudden, like people were starting to view it. That I was like, how the hell? Like actual like verified people and stuff. And in my head, I was going like, how has this guy? Have you heard of that Zuby guy? He's like a rapper, but he's a rapper, and he also is like I guess he's a bit controversial, but he talks about like sensitive subjects and stuff. And this guy was just viewing my Instagram stories. I didn't follow him. He didn't follow me.
Yeah, he
But
would have
for
just seen it
some
on his
reason,
explore page or something.
yeah. And honestly, and so it's the problem is nowadays it's so tied up in the algorithms of the social media, and so maybe this is more the case now than it ever was because the algorithms reward frequent posting. But yeah,
because they like to see active users. That's what it is.
Active users, yeah. But I don't know how. I mean, what's the most? I mean, you did your 100 YouTube videos, didn't you? I guess that's probably the biggest in terms of like.
It was actually 99 because one weekend was put into one video. But it
Oh,
was actually 99. Yeah.
I think you need to go back and do
Fuck that.
Look back episode.
By the end, it was the worst thing in my life. Like I fucking hate it because and also because I had moved back to Leicester after uni. At some point, 60 days, maybe 50 days, maybe even earlier. So it was my days became repetitive, and I was doing the same shit. So it was harder to create content or like good content. I thought was
so
at least
you were
good.
having to like create shit like slapping your mum or something.
Basically, yeah. So it was a grind at the end, but in the beginning it was fun as shit because even if I was going out, I would stay up before uni to edit and post at 8 o'clock every morning, or wherever it was every morning. I'd be able to post it. But yeah, I'm never going back to that shit. As much as that consistency was good and it created some shit, the thing about creating content, the best thing about creating content is that you say yes to a lot more shit than you usually would because you're like, oh, this would be good content, or this is content full stop. So you just say yes to a lot of shit. That going out 5 days in a row at uni, you're like, fuck it, it's good content. It's saying going to the cinema one day, bowling and all this, you know what I mean? It's just good content. Like,
yeah. But by the same token, I guess in some ways you start to do things that are not for yourself, but for the
sake of content.
Yeah, and you start consuming the things that therefore it's like, you know what I mean, you kind of you're consuming the things that are good for the viewers, not for yourself. Yeah, but
I thought a lot. I won't say a lot. I've thought recently about the idea of Twitch, and how nice that community is compared to, say, the YouTube world, I guess. From
Really?
what I've seen, people are, like, you literally just get nice people. You can just, obviously you can block people on YouTube, but you can block the bad people on Twitch way easier. So you every time you jump into somebody's stream, you just see like the happiness. People within that community are talking to each other whilst they're watching the stream. Like, it's fucking cool as
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah.
The emotes, the streaming themselves know people by name because they see the same people come and hang out. Do you know what I mean? It's cool as shit.
Mm.
Um,
Where do you
so
stand on that?
go on.
Because I was just going to say, where do you stand on? Because at a certain point, Twitch becomes just not all of them, but they will stream not just say them playing games, so it won't just be gamers, but there are Twitch streamers that literally just stream themselves almost like just
Talking.
being there
Yeah, yeah.
and chatting like almost not stuff that's not even that interesting.
Hmm.
But because people become so attached, I mean, I'm kind of losing myself in the question here because I have a lot of thoughts around this, because it's my whole thing of how you want to become a creative force nowadays is that you need to get people attached to you as a person.
Yeah.
If they become attached to you as a person, they will consume
They'll buy your
anything that
shit.
you put out. Yeah, it can be they'll buy your dirty underwear
Hmm.
basically. You know, we see that with actual Twitch streamers, some of them. But my initial question was going to be like, where do you kind of fall on that? Because I almost feel like, yes, you'll be making money, but at a certain point, if you're streaming a lot of your life, because you get some of them that stream just like day in, day out. Like, what do you think about that? Do you think it's weird for people to start streaming just their normal life, or
I don't think it's weird anymore. I grew up in watching vlogs of people. Do you know what I mean, on
I
YouTube?
guess,
So
yeah,
you see their literal daily life. As long, uh, I'm trying to think about both perspectives here. As the Twitch streamer, I think it's fine as long as you keep what's actually personal, and you create that separation in your own life versus what you show, and for vlogs and etc. As the viewer, I've always thought the idea of false prophets is weird, to be attached to someone so religiously like
yeah,
that. Yeah, yes, you can follow someone and again go back to the subscription model, subscribe to someone because you fuck with them, but to put them in that high regard that I want to watch everything they do, I want to. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I think that's a bit weird. Uh, but again, on the flip side of that, if you are someone who is an introvert or just somebody who like struggles in that kind of world, to be able to create an online community, I think is so powerful as well. I think there's that
mm.
kind of give and
That
take. There has to be that give and take, the good and the bad there,
mm.
and you
It
just have
comes.
to accept both. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I agree. I completely agree. And it comes to like a deeper issue. Something that I don't even know where it's going to go in the future is that obviously online communities are giving people a sense of community that they don't have, but at the
Hmm.
same time, they're also giving people the false sense that they are getting um, what they would get from an actual
Oh yeah,
social interaction.
yeah, yeah.
And when
It's
you
gonna
like
get
go
way
and
worse.
talk to someone and you have like all this great connection with them, and it's because you're literally like, I don't know, like feeding into each other with all sorts, your eye contact, your probably the chemicals that you're giving off and all that.
Yeah,
You lose all of that. And but
yeah.
then that's what I mean. Like, what caused what? Is it because people were struggling to socialize in the first place that the internet has become, or is it because the internet has come along that people are now struggling to socialize as much? You know what I mean?
I think I think it's a bit of both, but I also think the power of the internet is to find the like-minded people quicker than
Mm,
you would
yeah.
in real life. So
Yes.
if you were to start fucking finding shit that you love online, you see more people that like the same shit you do, you build that community, then you start talking to people outside of, for the example, the stream. You
Mm,
start talking to people outside of that in real, like in a Discord chat or whatever, just talking, and then you move that forward to talking by text. You start FaceTime and whatever. There's that possibility to just find somebody you fuck with quicker because you
mm,
both like the same shit. You can
mm,
put each other on some more cool shit. I have a friend who um used to game online when he was like 12, 13, and he struggled at school to like build real friendships because he was such an introvert. And he met he met this like group of kids from like Norway or somewhere, Sweden, somewhere in the Nordics, and he's literally gone there and like chill, like gone there for a week and hung out with them in real life. He's like they're his
Wow.
like real life friends now, which I
Yeah,
think is
yeah,
cool as shit. Like they've come here and hung
yeah,
out. Do you know what I mean? They still talk on a I think a quarterly basis. They still play games together on a quarterly basis now, whereas before it was like that. So I think the power of the internet is so strong, but there
yeah.
is that bad side as well. Back to
That
the
and
original
that
point.
that's probably the sort of key point is that you should transfer it. If
Yeah,
you then transfer it to real life, all
yeah,
of a sudden the internet has done the best thing that could possibly do, is like actually connect people to each other.
yeah,
But if you don't, then I mean the beauty of the internet as well is that don't people who don't feel comfortable in their own bodies, their own skin and all that, they
yeah,
can make friends that
yeah,
wouldn't be friends with them in real
yeah,
life.
yeah. Because they can
And
make their
that
avatars be exactly what they wanted to be in life. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah. I
And
was
we're only,
thinking
and
about
it's
this.
only going to get worse because of the metaverse and being able to
VR.
yeah, it's gonna get worse in that sense. You're just gonna have to
Yeah,
live in a headset. Like some people will end up living in the headset.
yeah, yeah. Because if you see like an avatar for long enough, you become to associate. Someone has like a normal name, but an avatar that looks like a certain thing. You become to associate that name with the avatar,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
don't know why, but so you associate the name of a girl who has like she has like a really attractive like cartoon like avatar thing, and you do it in your head. You're like, oh, that's that person, but
yeah.
actually most of the time it's probably like a 50-year-old
A
dude
geezer. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's
behind it.
crazy. It is crazy. But again, you can't. I don't know how I won't go on. It's not. But there's nothing I have to say there. It is true. Whatever.
Yeah,
It's
catfishing
nuts.
is going to become
Yeah,
real. Although,
yeah.
although, man, I think maybe catfishing will just be completely ruled out because people just won't meet in real life, and you won't care if you're actually banging a 50-year-old dude because his avatar is a woman
Because you
and
get what
your
you want from
avatar
that
is a...
visual. You get what you want from that visual. It's crazy. It's
when the
crazy.
machine's pumping up and down on you.
Yeah, they'll have those full body suits where you can feel the sensation as well. Like that world is gonna get crazy. It's
Yeah,
gonna be nuts, man. It's gonna be
yeah.
nuts.
It's scary. And also at the same time, I guess what we'd have to remember is chances are most of this won't even happen in our lifetime because everyone always predicts this crazy stuff's going to happen and then it doesn't. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. I think it'll happen in our lifetime. We'll just be old as fuck when it happen when it
Do you
like is
reckon?
in full force. 100%. I saw a video the other day where like a robot was cussing some geezer out just by having a conversation. Like in terms of they were fully answering everything the geezer said and then was just being sarcastic. And it was like a fully fledged like I robot. It was nuts.
Wow.
I think we're
Yeah.
getting there, man. This metaverse is going to create that world for us. And
Yeah.
in real life, they're going to be keep pushing that shit forward whilst we're all with our VR headsets on. They're going to be like creating real robots for us. It's like,
It's
uh,
super exciting. I think it's
it
really
is,
exciting.
but I've seen enough robot movies to be like, oh,
Terrified.
somebody just has to hack like one. Do you know what I mean? It's game over. Like,
Yeah. 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 Like, what's the deal with the electric cars? Like, I mean, obviously, people have hacked into Teslas before, haven't they?
mhm.
And once everything becomes hackable, like the only sort of thinking hope is that crypto as a security system is like the next level of security, and so
Yeah,
we will be able to be more protected.
Web
But
3 and that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, but I don't know, man. Yeah, it's really weird to think what it would be like as well as a kid growing up in this world as well. Like when, let's say, my kid, when they're a teenager, what they are going to experience with the internet is going to be completely
yeah,
different.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Completely different.
We went
Um,
through dial-up, and they'll just have everything they want. Like, hopefully,
do you ever forget? Because I was talking to Alicia about this the other day. Do you ever forget that the internet hasn't always been like this?
yeah, all the time.
So, so
Because you
like you
just get
think
so
back to
used
it,
to it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. You think back to it uni, and in your head, the internet was just like this.
Yeah,
But realistically, I can't even remember what it was actually like. But I know that there wasn't as much connectivity. Facebook was the biggest thing still, and Instagram kind of
just
was.
started. It just started when we were in uni. Like, well, it started picking up that
Yeah,
kind of pace
yeah,
at uni.
yeah. And
Um,
Snapchat was the big new thing
yeah,
that
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
loved. I'm
Twitter.
surprised
It was
Snapchat's
Twitter
even.
was massive when we were at uni as well.
Twitch wouldn't have been a thing, or if it was, it would have been
It
like
was
a no one
lower.
knows about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's kind of
that's part of the world now, isn't it? You have to adapt or you kind of get left behind.
yeah,
It's cool. It's back to the survival of the fittest shit as well, in terms of you literally have to adapt,
yeah.
otherwise you will get left behind.
And in the past, in human history, in the history of us as like creatures, animals, whatever, the reason we survived was because of our big brains.
Yeah,
And now, no longer will it be the people with the fittest bodies, and like there's these that are just going to be like pushed out, and it's going to be all the really smart people that are just going to
yeah.
keep.
The nerds are gonna take over. Is what they've always wanted in these sci-fi films, bro. And I
I'm
say
just
they,
imagining,
I'm not one
yeah.
of them. Yeah, yeah.
I'm imagining loads of different like implications. Like imagine that one day there'll be a thing where you can actually get someone pregnant through the internet. Like, do you know what I mean? Like create a baby almost.
I don't even want
There'll
to
be
think
there
about that.
have
I'm
to
not
be
gonna lie.
some thick cables.
Yeah, that's nasty, bro. Yeah, I mean, more likely it probably exists somewhere, because if we've thought about it, it exists somewhere. That
Yeah.
it happens now where the geese will just send their shit via post,
By
and
a
then
post.
yeah, it's
Uh,
that
uh, uh,
24-hour track delivery.
oh god. In Dopamine Nation, the book that I was reading, this guy basically was addicted to masturbation, right?
Mhm.
And he used to build like this machine. It was some weird machine where it was like it used to spin around, and he was old, so this is like a machine not even with like engines and stuff. I don't think it was just momentum or something. It might have been with an engine. I don't know. But he used to spin around and just edge him, and he used to edge for like 24 hours, yeah. And he kind of what he would do is he'd be like, "I'm quitting," and then he'd break it all up, throw it in the bin, and then the next morning he'd go back out, take it out of the bin, reassemble it. But where I'm getting to is that he gave it up for a long time, and then he got back into it eventually. But it changed, and what he was effectively doing was he found this thing website online, or like a some kind of community where it was electrical stimulation. So he bought like a med kit that had like not a defibrillator, but probably like a smaller version that provides
Yeah, yeah,
electrical stimulus. And he had it so it was like wrapped around his dick. And he'd get strangers online to do it. And there was a woman that he became really close to who would basically electric shock his dick through the internet. So my point being, and the reason I've exposed you to that horrendous
yeah. Thank you.
story,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're the best, bro. As soon as you said the word machine after the okay. Anyway, yeah, Karen. Yeah,
the reason I've exposed you to it is because it's already here. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
already
yeah.
here, man. You've seen
So
there
the
are
next step is
machines
just
now.
impregnating over the. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there are machines that provide that service for you if you want, and I'm guessing someone could power it over the internet. I mean, you've got the have you seen, you've got the phones where they can control a vibrator. Have you
Oh
seen
yeah,
that?
yeah,
I said, and people are just there in restaurants, and I'm like, that's nasty, man. Why are you doing that?
Eat your food and leave, bro.
Just do it at home. But no, they need to.
It's the thrill in it. It's the dopamine that
Yeah,
they're trying to chase. That's
yeah.
fucking
Like
joke.
I'm not shitting on people that have different, fetishes and things. But I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah,
once things start to become highly fetishized, I feel like you probably maybe have a bit of a problem.
yeah, yeah.
Um, that's just my opinion. I think once you start into like, get
That you
machines out
and that
and
you
and
need that
start.
shit to finish as well is gonna be
Yeah,
nuts.
yeah. Or to be like overly into doing it in public and that. It's just a little bit like you're a menace to
Yeah.
society, man.
Yeah, you got a real problem that you need to talk to a therapist about. Like go ring your father, bro. Like, do you know what I mean?
Aren't most of our personalities just issues that we haven't
Yeah,
resolved?
basically, basically.
Like our whole things of desiring and wanting, success and stuff has probably come from not feeling wanted at
Hmm.
school or something, not having enough friends.
Yeah, yeah. It all links back to your childhood, bro. And the problem is, it also links back to how your parents lived their lives. as well, because that's
Yes.
what they taught you, and
Yeah.
then it links back to your grandparents and how they fucking
Yeah.
treated your parents. And
Yeah.
oh man, it's a
Jeez.
dangerous kind of worms that has to be opened at some point in life. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think everyone should probably get therapy at some point. When they can
yeah,
afford it, that's the bloody problem, isn't it? Hopefully,
yeah,
one day everyone will have it through. They'll democratize it a bit more through NHS, and the quality of it will be higher. Because I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
everyone would benefit, man. And I guess the only way that we can get therapy without that is probably just to have a lot of friends that you can talk about different things to. That's probably the
Yeah,
best
yeah,
you can do, isn't it? But yeah, just I don't know who you're talking to about your electrical penis machine. I'd probably tell you
yeah.
if I had one of them. That's the funny
I
thing.
hope. Do you know what? Yeah, there's a part of me that would want to hear that just for the just for the chuckle, and then hopefully I could be like, all right, look, well, what's
Can
the
I borrow
problem?
it
Are
at the
you
weekend?
okay? I'm not borrowing that shit, bro. You told me where it's been, and I'm gonna be like, do you know what I want to do? Put that on my own. Like, nah, I'm cool, bro. Do you know what I mean? You can
That
tell me
adds
where
to the
you can tell me
thrill.
where you bought it, but I'm not taking the one you have in it. There's a big
Why,
difference
man?
there.
Sharing is caring, man. I thought we were talking about
Nah.
community before.
Because what happens here? All right, look, the scenario here is that for the sake of it, I borrow it and I leave it on the highest setting or whatever it is, the lowest setting,
Yo,
which
you'd
whatever it
be on
is,
the
yeah,
high.
whatever it is, yeah. And then I forget to like put it back to where you were, and then I give it back, and you're like, whoa, he needed that. Like, I know he needed that. Like, you'll look at me different, bro.
Or it'd
Anyway,
kill me.
or it kill you. Yeah.
Just
You'd
like
be like,
straight
I mean,
wipe me out. Yeah. Well, obviously, yeah. I think that's probably a nice topic to end on, just to leave it
uh,
fresh in anyone's brains who might be listening.
I'm sure you can get it online at www.
I
Well, imagine I knew the website. That'd be too funny.
the wildest thing is, man, I was shocked, and I've seen a lot of the internet in that
Yeah.
terms. Like I've seen stuff and been like, "Whoa, that's a bit weird,"
Yeah.
but I didn't know. I mean, this was an old guy as well. That somehow I don't know how he managed to use the internet well enough to get that set up.
As soon as you used the word machine, I was like, I know, I can have an idea where this is going.
Yeah.
And you're like, he needed
Uh,
a machine.
if you're like not only if you're using a machine, but if you're building yourself a machine,
And then
then
rebuilding it every day. I
yeah.
think the addiction's gone too far. Like,
Just take it from Jim from American Pie, man. Whip the apple pie out. That's gonna be good enough.
but then you start associating pain with it, and then you become
Yeah.
like Paul Giamatti in Billions, where he's a BDSM geezer. Like, it's
Oh, is that what it is, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, man. Hammering nails through your foreskin and stuff. Does a
I didn't even know that existed. I'm not gonna lie, and that
yeah,
sounds
yeah. It's
terrifying to me.
because that's like sadomasochism, isn't it?
Right.
It's where you do the pain to yourself. I think I always get it mixed up. But we were forced to watch that at uni for performance art. There were performance artists where they mutilated themselves basically by like hammering. One of them hammered nails through his dick
and
into a wooden
and
bench.
and then the lights are off, but then when the like, if you just look around the room, you're like trying to catch skis, and that's just.
Just jerking. Hey,
Sorry, I don't know why my mind
you're
went there.
assuming it was a guy. It might be a
True,
girl. You
true.
never
Could have
know.
been your teachers or that. Like, anyway,
Yeah.
thank you guys. This has been the fifth conversation of a bunch of conversations. I've been Mikesh. This has been Jack. It's been a fun conversation, and we'll see you in the next one.